Yes, now. All right. So welcome everyone once again. And this is the Winning New Clients, How to Facilitate Effective Relationship Selling webinar. Our focus is on, facilitating relationship selling. If you're on this call, whether you work within an organization or you work as a consultant or a business owner, relationships is something that you probably understand the value to your goals. Within organizations, relationships are critical in order to be able to, go from one road to the next, in order to be able to be able to influence colleagues, influence stakeholders, influence bosses. And even when you think about it, this topic is not just for people who sell in business. If you're working within an organization and have to convince people on projects, have to convince people to join you in any endeavor, or anything at all, or you have to convince someone to take your idea, or even have to convince somebody to increase your pay, then you are selling. But today we're talking about how to facilitate effective relationships selling. Where does it start from? So we'll touch on this both for business people and hopefully for corporate people. I want to say welcome to those who are just joining us. Great to have you in the room. And if you can, please just put your first name and the city you're joining us from. So put your first name and the city you're joining us from. My name is Demi. I am joining from cold and rainy Manchester. I would love to hear where you're joining us from, and then we will continue to take it from there. Okay, so to give you, please put your first name and where you're joining us from in the chat while I continue. To give you a sense of today's session, we're doing a quick welcome, and then I'll show you, what we're doing in Nairobi in the coming week. By the way, 1 week from today, we're having what we call the Global Facilitator Impact Summit. And I'll just tell you briefly about it. And then I'll jump into together with Eugene, we will jump into the why of relationship selling, the what, and the how of relationship selling. And then hopefully you'll get a few things tonight in the next 14 minutes that you can use to improve the way that you close new clients or close new projects and proposals or business cases within the corporate space where you're working, where you might be working. And then I'll tell you a bit more about the Global Facilitator Impact Summit. Okay, so just to give you a snapshot, and it's just quickly, I'll tell you about this later, but the Global Facilitator Impact Summit is happening next week, Tuesday, 11th of November, in person in Nairobi, live and direct. I will be there. I'm looking forward to it. And I've got amazing guests and speakers will be there. Eugene will be there as well. But we've also got Syria Rama, we've got Dorcas, and we've got Maureen. And what we are doing next week, Tuesday, is we're spending 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. really giving you strategies to create value, through learning and performance facilitation. So if you work in any part of business that drives results for the business, or any organization where you're doing learning and performance, or you're even somebody in HR, or you're L&D, or you're a consultant or trainer, the language of value is critical for clients, is critical for stakeholders. And so that's what we'll be doing in person next week. It's a very rich gathering, and it will be great for you to be there. I'm just going to go and jump into tonight's session. So Eugene, if you don't, let's get into it. Eugene, please go ahead and introduce yourself as well, so that we then keep going and keep adding value. And I just want to say this as well. We want you to be as much as possible a part of this conversation. So if you want to say something, please raise up your hand. If you want to, put something in the chat, please put it in the chat, okay? So that we can get value from across the room. So Eugene, great to have you. Please go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Thank you so much, Demi. So excited to be here tonight. I can see a few people that I know from the audience, and that gives me a lot of pleasure. And it's also a great honor to be hosted by you, and especially ahead of the wonderful event next week. For those that we have not met, my name is Eugene Muchai. I am a global moderator, mainly focusing on corporate events. I'm also an event planner and manager. My focus in events planning and management is generally around tech innovation and entrepreneurship. And so anything from startups, SME communities, small businesses, large corporations, anything to do with business and technology and the intersection of the two, then you will probably find me there. So I have a background in marketing. And so I'm always very excited to talk about marketing aspects of us building businesses. And that's the major part of what we'll be discussing. Share a few insights here and there that we can actually apply as we grow our businesses and our professional lives. So ready for the night? Thank you so much for hosting me and looking forward to a great conversation with you, Demi.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great to have you, Eugene, and I'm looking forward to this as well. And just to give a bit of background about myself, a lot of my work is in corporate learning and development, but also I've done work across a number of fields: leadership development, corporate L&D, obviously marketing, but also entrepreneurship development. So I do corporate L&D work in Manchester, United Kingdom, and also work for clients globally. But I also teach in an MBA program, in an executive MBA program at the Africa Business School in Morocco. And so the thrust of a lot of my work is helping transform teams, people, groups to create value, within organizations and outside of organizations. And so it's great to, be having this conversation. So we are talking about, facilitating effective relationship selling. And I guess the first thing for me is people, on the slide, it says people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell and how you make them feel. Eugene, maybe some initial background. What's the concept of facilitating relationship selling, just to begin to get into the conversation from your perspective?
Great. Thank you so much, Demi. So I would look at relationship selling as a process, an active process of building building relationships so that we are selling value to the stakeholders or the people that we're interacting with. And we are actually ensuring that we are known for certain kind of value that is needed by the other person. It could be a professional in something, it could be a business partner, it could be your customer, it could be your stakeholder, interested investor. So the whole process around looking for them where they are, because relationship selling is more about being proactive with giving value. And so we start by looking for where your target stakeholder is or your target market is, going for that target stakeholder, ensuring that you build a connection by meeting them, could be virtually or physically. Then over time, you make sure that you communicate the value that you can offer to that other party consistently. That leads to trust. And trust is the engine that actually propels people being able to refer you to opportunities. Trust is the engine that actually empowers people giving you works. For those in the gig economy, getting gigs. For those of us in employment, relationship selling could be the reason why you're moving from one organization to another and actually accessing greener pastures, as we like to call it. So it's basically building trust, selling value over time, and ensuring that you maintain consistent engagement with the other stakeholder so that opportunities that exist between the two of you can keep growing. In the perspective of employment, that could look like you building networks within the profession. In the perspective of business, it could mean that you're building partnerships with other stakeholders in the industry, as well as building good relationships with your customers. And so relationships are both ways, to your juniors, to your peers, and to your seniors.
That's good. That's good. I like what you're saying. And there's a number of things that stand out for me because I haven't done work globally and consulted with diverse people. I've found out that what makes you continue to have work to do, quote and unquote, is the relationships that you have built with those people. And so we will get into it in a bit into say, how do these relationships, how do you even leverage them? How do they produce results for you? But when I think about facilitation and we talk about facilitating effective relationships, so then a facilitator is somebody who orchestrates a process with an outcome. So a facilitator sees the end game, but then it leads the process in order to result in an outcome. So people tend to think about facilitation only from a learning perspective. So they say somebody's facilitating a workshop or a training, but it's a lot more than that. As somebody who is driving, value for stakeholders, you are facilitating an experience. You are facilitating that entire process. You know what we're saying about finding those stakeholders, nurturing the relationship and delivering value for them, which we'll get to in a bit to break it down. It's really about facilitating that effective relationship selling. And one of the things I wanted to say just on the point of value is this is two things. One is that value is not really what you have to offer. Value is the problem that you solve for the person that you're offering it to. Now, I found something, and in the last few weeks, I've been trying to get certain services and hire people to do certain things. People come to me with what they can do, but in my status, in my current situation, that is not value. What you can do is not value. What that thing that you can do, what it can do for me is value to me. So the problem it can solve for me is value to me. So sometimes you see people going into conversations without understanding the problem part of the person they are solving that they are trying to build that relationship with. And so you will find maybe in a networking event, for example, somebody might find multiple people that come up to them and are talking about the same thing. I can do this for you. I can do this for you. Like I can do marketing for you. And the guy's problem is not just marketing. Maybe he wants, everybody's trying to get him more clients, but maybe he wants his brand to be more seen. So value has to be interpreted in the context of the other person, whether it's a stakeholder within an organization or it's a business client that you're going to meet. Because when you start to do that, it's easier to build relationship because they feel like you're speaking their language. And for me, that is the first step as we go into this. So let's and thanks for sharing, Eugene, as well. So let's and please, if you're listening to us, please feel free to share within the chat box and maybe ask any question. As I was just saying on the previous slide, I put something there. I said the danger of a single sale. I find that many people are very transactional, and Eugene, this is the antithesis, or this is the flip side of relationship selling. I guess you agree with me. When people are very transactional, they want to make one sale, they want to make it now. They're not thinking about lifetime value. They're not thinking about longer term value. So I had somebody who I was trying to give a job to, and the person was saying, okay, you know what, give me $500 for this. Incidentally, the person was in Kenya. So I said, okay, can you give me a guarantee of the results I'm going to get? If you want me to give you $500 for this thing that you will do within 2 weeks or so, I know you can do it, but give me a guarantee. I need to know the results I'm going to be paying for. But the person could not give me a guarantee, and I'd offered them a longer term runway, but they didn't want that runway. They wanted the money now. So for me, that wasn't an ideal vendor. That wasn't an ideal person I wanted to work with. I would prefer somebody who says, you know what, I understand where you're trying to go. I understand and I can walk it with you. I can give you personal examples of clients that I've worked with over the years. Like I was telling you about business school. I teach in a business school, and with each year there is an increasing level of exchange of value in that relationship. Okay, we're trying to design a new program, and it's because I'm thinking about that as a long-term thing, and we're building trust. So I'm going to stop here, but jump over to you back to just let's look at this point that we've started to talk about. So we started to talk about long-term value, right? So long-term value essentially is the fact that You know, in marketing, we talk about LTV, we talk about customer lifetime value. And you can calculate that. That is a total amount that a client will bring to you or a lead will bring to you over the long term. And so as business people, you must think long-term value. Eugene, let's talk about what the referral and compounding sort of marketing based on trust. What does that look like? Why is this? We're talking about the why of relationship selling. Why is this something that's critical?
But thank you so much, Demi. And I like the juxtaposition that you put there, relationship selling versus the effect of a single sale. And I think it's almost certain for those of us who've been in business for some time, you know that the most dangerous thing that will ever happen to you is actually doing a single sale with anyone, because it could actually haunt you emotionally for a very long time. It's even worse if you've gone through a marketing training, you've gone through a workshop like the one that we are going to be having next week on Tuesday, and you know that it is dangerous to have a single sale. That notwithstanding, we say that people buy from people they know, people they like, and people they trust. And that is a bigger reality now or today, where the customer, let me talk about this from a business perspective. The customer is very informed. The customer could actually be more informed than you are in what you're selling. Especially for those of us in services, if you're talking about training and facilitation, the customer could probably be knowing more than you know. And so they want to understand the value that they're going to get. And as you've said, the value could probably not be the event that you're doing, the training that you're doing, or the product that you're selling. It could be the problem that you're solving through offering that product. And so we must go beyond just selling a product into understanding the needs of the other person so that we are solving their problems over a long period of time. And so what happens with relationship selling, and just a few things that we might want to look at when we think about relationship selling is some of the aspects that would define relationship selling. One is thinking about the other person and their problems and solving their problems. That is number one. You can't get into effective relationship selling if you don't listen to the other person to understand their needs and solve their problems. That is one. You must be customer focused. You must be very good in listening, not to react, not to respond, but you listen to solve that problem through the understanding that you get. Then as we think about building a relationship with that person, it must be based on trust. We agree that we shall do A, B, C, D. Are we going to do that thing together? And are we going to do it as we had agreed? If there are going to be variations, a simple communication on how and why it's not possible this way and it's possible the other way contributes to how you build trust. Then as we get into a relationship, we must be thinking about business or how you're going to be interacting with this person beyond that meeting or that transaction that you're having. So you must be thinking about how am I going to be solving problems for this customer in the next 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. That way you will start with the right mindset on how to build or to nurture that relationship. We also look at how marketing has evolved. Nowadays, people don't just want to have advertisement or messaging that is general. They want to feel like you're actually speaking to that person. So personalization is another aspect of how you can get people to trust you and people to like you. If you have a conversation with Demi, then you have to make it sound like I'm actually interested in you and I'm actually talking to you. When we do all those things and we ensure that there is value that we are exchanging, we are likely to get to a point where after several months or after several engagements, the customer or the other stakeholder that we are building a relationship with gets to speak on your behalf to the other person. That is network marketing. Other people will call it compounding in marketing or compound marketing. Other people will call it referral marketing. And we all know that referral marketing is the surest and the cheapest way of marketing that you can ever have. It only comes as a consequence of relationships that you have built. So before you get to giving the other person confidence to sell on your behalf, to sell value and to communicate your competencies and your capabilities, then you need to have connected with this person, understood them, personalized your engagement with them, and then built trust over time. That trust is also built by you doing whatever you do and solving the problems that you solve consistently over time. So there is the investment in your own craft. You facilitate the kind of relationship that you want, and then ensure that you repeat the value and the engagement over time. That way, it will lead to marketing that lasts for long. It also leads to partnerships and collaborations that can actually ensure that you sell to a wider audience than you could generally sell on your own. So a lot of benefits for relationship selling. There's a downside to it, including time. We'll discuss that as we go along. But generally, when we build that trust, will lead to outcomes that will be cheaper for us to market in the long term, as opposed to us doing advertisement and networking every single time. Demi?
I love it. No, I love it. Those are very great points, because when you think about it, the sum total of, like they say, your network is your net worth. It's almost like this relationship selling piece. So if you are, even if you start out with a mind, and to be honest, one of the reasons why relationship selling is critical is nobody likes to be sold to, in the sense that nobody wants you to just come up to them and say, buy my product, buy my service. I am the best. You walk up to, I don't know if you've had this experience, you are in networking and everybody's coming to you and they're telling you, this is what I do, if you can, or even on LinkedIn. I don't open those things anymore. On LinkedIn, somebody just DMs you and just says, we see you are in this industry, this is a new product. I'm like, no, like, I'm not interested. Like, for some reason, our minds sort of reject that. And that is because we are trust-based. We are always seeking trust. That's how we are wired as people. So our minds reject that. LinkedIn, it looks very spammy. You see what I mean? And so, like you're saying, the opposite of that is to invest time into build relationship. So like we're saying, it's critical because you're building trust, but also, like we're saying, there are shared possibilities. There are bigger possibilities that come as a result of this investment of time in relationship selling. So this is your end goal, but you build that relationship in order to drive to that end goal. Even when you think about it, like you're saying, within the corporate, people say, what, I don't like office politics. The truth is, you've got to understand and play office politics, because it's also a part of you selling. It's also a part of you buying. It's also a part of you building those relationships and interacting. And so you've got to know, these are my allies, and you are building that relationship as well, offering value at every level, and then somebody can speak up for you. See, I have seen within organizations, I have seen redundancies where, they had to make people redundant, but then it's usually that stakeholder that you have been nurturing and speaking with that eventually now steps in for you and says, what, this person is great. They don't need to go. And most people treat their career sometimes transactionally. They treat it as, I do my job, I go, they give me the money. Guess what? If you do it that way, the day they're making people redundant, they're probably going to be one of the first people they want to make redundant, because they don't see that longer value. And it's really that. So obviously, like we said earlier on, relationship selling drives new outcomes, the new opportunities, because there are things you will not see on yourself. And sometimes when we make a client redundant, like when we reduce a client to one sale, is always a very short-sighted thing, because sometimes your client will be the one that will say, okay, what, there's bigger things I want to do. Usually you will see most clients, in my experience, they will start you off on something small. Even when I'm giving out stuff as well, you start somebody off on something small because you want that trust to be built. You can't give somebody a $50,000 or $100,000, depending on what they are doing, all at once. You probably give them something like, and I've seen that happen personally, where I went from maybe free to like 500 to like 12,000 or 15,000, and you get those kinds of, in terms of dollars, in terms of projects and bigger projects and all that stuff, and so it's critical to understand this. So we've been talking a bit about the why, because Simon Sinek starts with why, but also we started to talk about the what. So it's about the authenticity. It's about that value first mindset, and it's really selling via trust and connection over a long period of time. Eugene, is there anything that you want to add to the what? I think we talked about it briefly, but if there's anything you want to add to it before we jump to the how, you can add to it as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Demi. And so I think we've quite well exhausted the whole concept around the why of relationship selling. And so part of the what is the patience that comes with relationship selling, that we are thinking about outcomes of what connections we're building today, not happening tomorrow, but happening in a year's time or 2 years' time. So sell with that in mind. Then the other thing is around the mindset. The mindset of relationship selling means that you're thinking about what problem you can solve for the other person or what value you can give to the other person before you even think about receiving. Giving leads to receiving later on, probably. For those of us who trust in the Bible, it will come back to you increased, and there are many words that I don't want to put the exact word as it is, but there's a likelihood that what you're going to receive after you build with the right mindset is going to be much better than what you can manage on your own. So thinking long-term, the right attitude around perceiving the other person, not as an object to pay you for what you're selling, because that is transactional, but seeing the other person as the potential from which you shall reap in the next couple of months, years, or so on and so forth. So thinking long-term, the right attitude around relationships, valuing the other person and respecting them, and that builds the whole concept around relationship selling.
That's a good one. I love it. And it's that patience, right? But it's also that
Yes.
mindset. It's a mental shift, especially when you feel like, sometimes people feel like, I need the money now. I need the money now, And so if the person does not buy now, you're just like, you know what, go away, go away and all that. There was a guy that I remember, a travel agency that I used for stuff. I remember, I would reach out to the travel agency and they would try to get flights for me, but it won't be like the very best fit for me, etc. And I would ask them questions, and this guy is very patient. You know what? Even sometimes I apologize to him, and it would be like, it's my job to look for flights for you. And he did it to the point where he's now booking the flights, like, so he's won, even though he's won my trust. I didn't intentionally, but I even pay him, because sometimes these flights, you can even get them slightly cheaper yourself when you go direct. But sometimes I even just pay him because of that relationship, because I know it will handle it for me. Like if I wake up and I say, hey, there's a problem with this flight, it will figure out a way. Or there's a problem with this, it will figure out a way. And it's, for me, it's that thing of that patience, but also that long-term thing, in terms of thinking about it. And it's what drives dependability as well. And when people feel like, because let's face it, businesses want vendors that they can trust, that they can depend on. You must have that at the back of your mind. Most businesses that want to run stably, they need dependable vendors that they can have consistently to work with. They don't want to be changing a vendor today. Any business that's serious, obviously, doesn't want to be changing a supplier or vendor today and tomorrow. They need somebody that they're always going to give them value if they wake up in the night and that kind of thing. So it's important to understand that piece as well. So let's talk about the how, right? So there's three loaded. We've been talking about the what of relationship selling. We've been talking about the why of relationship selling. So let's talk about the how to actually do it. And we've got three. We talked about the prospecting, the nurturing, and then the leveraging, where you actually go for the jugular, so to speak. But let's start with you, Eugene. prospecting. Let's talk about that first one.
All right. Thank you so much, Demi. So I would want to look at prospecting as the process of getting leads. These leads could be people that you're looking up to in the career, could be looking for your mentor, could be looking for a client, could be looking for a partner or a friend. All that is around prospecting. And there's so many ways that you can do prospecting. One of them is the one that you don't like, about people sending you a direct message on LinkedIn and selling value to you. That could be one of the ways. And there's a lot that you can do on social media.
By the way, let me just clarify that. I've got LinkedIn DMs where somebody says, "Hi, Demi, I saw your profile. I think that what you're doing is interesting. I'm in this industry. I'm more than happy to connect, share thoughts and ideas. This is something that you might like." Sends me a link to a resource. I like it. Demi, did you see the resource etc? There's this thing happening in your industry. I checked in London. Are you going to be there in London, etc? Now, that person sends me 1, 2, 3, 4 messages before they ever say, this is a software, this is an LMS, this is an LXP, this is a software that we've just developed, it's AI, it's bam, bam, bam. That kind of person, I'm already building relationship with them, because you see, as they're adding value to me, I'm responding to them. Maybe we even jump on a call. And then we now start talking. There was a person that was selling psychometric programs to me like that. We built a good relationship today. There was another person that was selling. So I don't mind LinkedIn DMs. I just don't think LinkedIn DMs where you just open up and say, hello, this is this product, buy it now, is effective.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I totally understand. And I think most of us get that quite a lot, that someone just wants you to buy to what they're selling, and that has to be immediate. Sometimes someone will just tell you, I think you're a CEO of a company, and so you can afford to buy an advertisement on my magazine at 1,000 USD. And they think that you must buy now and then. And we receive such many, many times, and it's part of life. They understand a different kind of conversation than what you're talking about, facilitating relationship selling. So back to the perspective around prospecting, could be you're prospecting online or generating leads online. And so you're reaching out to people and telling them what you can offer to them, or a conversation that you'd want to have with them so that you can solve their problems. So if, for instance, for that case of someone who is selling you psychometric tests and they want you to buy, I would think of it as someone telling you why getting psychometric tests or understanding the whole process around psychometric management, how it will benefit you and your work as a trainer, as a facilitator, and as a corporate leader. That person is likely to get your audience more than the one who tells you this package goes at 500 USD. That is one. So as you prospect, think about telling people what conversations you'd like to have with them before you propose a product. That's number one. Number two is the platforms that work for your target audience are the platforms that you should be targeting more often than not. Sometimes we say that I want to meet a certain speaker, I want to meet a certain CEO, and I want to meet a certain leader or mentor or something, and you're looking for them on LinkedIn or Instagram, and you think that you'll get them there. And you know very well, there are very high chances that they don't even manage their own accounts. Someone else is doing it on their behalf, so it might take time. Instead of shooting on such platforms, you could follow that person and know, for example, where they're speaking in a physical event, go to that physical event and shoot your point right where they are. Just meet them after speaking, tell them, hi, Demi, thanks a lot for the panel discussion or the speech that you gave us. I found 1, 2, 3, 4 points really insightful and beneficial to my work. This is what I do, and I would like to have a conversation with you. If you approach someone from a point of, there is value that you have given me, which I really appreciate, and I would like to contribute to your work through the work that I do. Then that person will give you an audience and will probably give you an appointment where you can discuss the problems that you can solve for them. So think about where to get the people that you want to talk to, and especially the platform that can give you the fastest and most direct access. Number 3 is the value of networking events. Much as we want to be very digital and we want to be very tech savvy and we think that everything can happen online, I would like to disappoint us shortly and for just a short while, that especially in Africa, if your target audience is in Africa, then you know that most of our engagements, most of our networking will probably be more effective if you invest in physical networking events. You might be an introvert. It doesn't harm for you to meet one person or two people. You might be extroverted like me, and you want to meet 50 people in one event. Whichever way, go where your client is. If they're attending physical events, go where they are. And when you go there, don't be in a rush to share business cards. Be in a rush to tell the other person that you can solve problems for them. Part of being able to solve a problem for them means that you have done some research on that person because you're interested in them, or you have knowledge that you have invested in. You have read books, you have attended trainings like the one you're having next week, and you have amassed knowledge that you like to share with people. Come and tell people or the target person that I would like to share this value with you. That's how to attract attention. Then another way to think about prospecting and generating leads is definitely being proactive with sharing information. That is on the one side, where even on your social media platforms, tell us what it is that you can do very well by what you post, the kind of insights that you share, and even the kind of opportunities that you normally pursue. For instance, I am a global moderator. So most of the time I will be pursuing opportunities to moderate corporate events because my clients are in corporate events. And so I want to volunteer speaking engagements and moderating and offer that solution to the organizers so that I can meet my target client. So give a solution that way. And that comes out of research that you have done, knowledge that you have built, and consistency in your thought leadership. That is on the one side, build knowledge. Number 2, once you have met someone, it is not enough for you to exchange a business card with someone or a contact with someone. I can tell you for free, and 80% of the contacts that you have in your phone, you normally don't use them. Partly because probably you got the contacts a long time ago and you just wanted to meet the person. You didn't have much to say after that meeting. So instead of doing that, I would rather get fewer contacts, but ensure that as soon as you're done with the meeting, you send the person an acknowledgement of the meeting and the time and the attention they have given you. That gives you an opportunity for that person to listen to you after. Remind them what conversation you had, follow up after 1 week, after 1 month. You can even check them out. Probably you just met someone randomly and you didn't know much about them. They told you just a few things for 5 minutes and left. Go and research on that person and tell them, oh, I see that you have been speaking at certain events lately. I will be happy to share some insights on relationship selling that I learned in a certain webinar that I attended, hosted by Demi. So that could be an idea that you're following up by giving them knowledge that they can use in what they are passionate about. That person is likely to give you audience. And then the other part of prospecting, I think because of time, I can rush through nurturing before we talk about leverage.
No, we can. And nurture is a good point, right? Like nurturing,
Yes.
we haven't talked a bit about nurturing. I'll talk to through leverage, but I think prospecting, like you rightly said, sometimes is depth over breadth. So sometimes, like you're saying, even when we do networking, we're trying to do leads, we're trying to do lots and lots of people, but everybody knows that you've got to give quality, and sometimes it's got to be depth over breadth. And this is the point of what you're saying. You'd research the person, you can tailor a conversation to them. To be honest with you, sometimes I go to events and I cap the number of people I meet at maybe 5 or 7 or more, not more than that, because I know I can follow up on those and I can move to the next stage of nurturing, of actually looking for what is value and building to them, because there is no value in having one 1,000 business cards if you're not going to be able to pick up with them and to move that to the next stage. And then the other thing about prospecting as well, and we were talking about, maybe just to add one point as well, apart from going to all these places, networks are in networks. There's something called the 6 degrees of separation. Anybody that you want to meet is within 6 degrees of where you are. So somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody knows that person. And I can tell you that for sure, that personally, I've met some of the most amazing, or worked with some very amazing people that I would not ordinarily, to your point, I've been able to meet just by going to their DMs, even sending emails, because these are people that have done everything. I can give you a case in point. One particular person, a very respected leader across the country, I've sent emails, sent proposals, sent all those things, tried to reach out, and then somebody introduces me to somebody, and then introduced to another person, and that person says, "Oh, this person is my friend. I can talk to them." And guess what? The next day, I'm on the call with this person whom it would have taken me years to meet. And so sometimes it's also, and we'll get to leveraging your network as well. But really, when it comes to prospecting as well, you treat the current networks that you have as valuable, because within those networks, you would be able to ask and say, do you know, or do you know people, or do you know these kinds of persons? You can go to people that you already meet and ask them for certain profiles of people that you're trying to reach. It will shorten the curve, because you see, when you are going, like we were saying earlier on, when you're going through that referral, it's like a warm lead, because you have somebody that speaks for you. So they almost like pitch you and say, I can do this. You can do this. And I've seen that with a lot of my clients and people that I work with, maybe in the US, elsewhere. It's usually somebody that says, you know what, I met this guy, we worked on some projects together, they can do this. So let's talk a bit about nurturing, and then jump on leveraging as well.
All right. Yeah. So thank you so much. I think there is not really much in nurturing. So we'll try to move as fast as possible, because I'd like us to get to leveraging. Again, another short segment, which is also very important. And that forms the real basis of this conversation on how exactly do we apply this concept of relationship selling. And so in nurturing, because we've talked about having value, being able to communicate that value, and ensuring that you connect with the right people that you want to serve first. We say you give value first before you start receiving. So with that understanding, nurturing basically speaks to what efforts you do after connecting. We have prospected, we have gotten this person. What else do we do with them? And so first will be to invest in knowledge about that person and listening to that person. I'd mentioned this before, but I think it's important for us to discuss listening as part of nurturing. Sometimes when we meet, I will not tell you all my problems, because I also don't trust you much to give you a lot of my problems. So how exactly do you listen? You will ask me questions that will help you to understand my pain points. And then you can give me solutions based on the pain points. That's active listening. Sometimes you might be struggling to get information from me. And so instead, you can decide to use reverse psychology and create part of the solution that I'm looking for out of the little that you have had, and ask me if that solves my problem and how I could improve that. That is looking for feedback. So ask questions, seek feedback as you engage the other person. That makes them more interested in what you can do. And then if you can personalize that kind of solution, you can personalize the conversation so that you don't always talk about your business. Sometimes just show up and say, I know I do, for example, in my case, I do event planning and management, and I'm also a moderator. But can we talk about the challenges that you've had in your sales processes over the years? And let's have a conversation as entrepreneurs on how sales has worked or not worked. How do you manage your human resource? And then out of that, I will realize a need for you to sponsor your staff to attend networking events so that they can gain the knowledge that you have. And so you don't have to invest every day in arguing with your staff and reprimanding them on mistakes that they have done simply because they don't have exposure. So I have used a human resource perspective by listening to the challenges that you're facing and realize that I can solve that problem through giving your staff exposure through events. So it's a longer route, but it might solve more problems for you, and that may create more loyalty. Then, much as we are going to be solving a problem, follow-up is the juice. It is the fuel that fuels relationship selling. If you don't follow up, if you don't have a way of sending me a reminder, maybe you told me about a meeting that we were meant to have, you don't have a reminder, you've invited me for maybe a networking event somewhere, we don't have a reminder, you are to launch a product at a certain time, and that was 8 weeks or 3 months after we talked. And then you just show up the night before the launch and expect that I will attend your launch. Shock on you, because most people will actually not even show up. And then you'll start saying, oh, Demi has a problem. I have been building a relationship with Demi for 12 weeks. He can't even show up to my product launch and they were invested. No, it's because you didn't follow up. You didn't update the other person on what processes you're building to get to the launch, which you think the other person might want to attend. And that is where technology comes in, that you don't have to always be where this other person is. You can use your SMS, you can use your WhatsApp, you can use an email. Your social media could be an asset. If they followed you and you follow each other, your social media updates could be an avenue for them to remember the things that you have said. And then you can always send direct messages as reminders or invitations to the people that you have met on things that matter to them. Again, you don't have to send all your messages and all your information to all your contacts at the same time, every time and anytime. Sometimes choose this number of people to consume certain information because it's important to them, and then another segment on this side because it matters to them. Over time, that follow-up and that continuous information, because stakeholders want to be informed, even when they're not buying, they want to be informed. Out of that follow-up, people will trust you. And that is what will make them, at one point, to be seated in a boardroom somewhere where they're discussing opportunities, and the only name that will be clicking in their heads is not even your company. It is you, the individual, who has been keen on following up with the person. So follow-ups and information, constantly updating your audiences or your stakeholders, that gives you trust. And trust is what even exposes you to the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth person, as Demi says, that out of knowing that you're consistent, you're competent, you're diligent enough to keep me informed, then I want you to take the opportunity that is on the table that I probably cannot take. And that is what we say, someone has mentioned your name in rooms and tables where you have not been. That comes out of consistency in terms of your follow-up, in terms of your updating the other person, using technology or using in-person meetings or using problem-solving techniques that you have learned out of engaging with this person. So a lot of it is about feeding the other person so that you will also come and eat the fattened cow. That's the whole idea.
I like it. It's really good. And I think the analogy that you use in terms of, or the picture that you paint instead of feeding the eating from the fatted cow, it's interesting. But I think in reality, it's that thing, right? It's like a bank account. You deposit, and then you can withdraw. No, that's good. Let's talk a bit more about leveraging. Now getting value out of that as well, because this is like the withdrawal or eating the fatted cow. And happy for you to go first on that, and maybe we'll share a couple of points as well. You're muted.
Yeah, sometimes when the conversation gets very hot, sometimes we can speak before we unmute. All right, thanks so much. Yeah, this is a very important part of this conversation because we can't talk about relationship selling without talking about what is the reward after the 6 months, after the 1 year that you have built this relationship. What exactly is the reward? And so how does relationship selling benefit you as the investor? And by investor, I mean you, the person who has done the connection, you, the person who has done the follow-ups, you, the person who has done active listening, personalized communication with your stakeholder or the target audience, and you that has invested in improving yourself so that every new time or every new engagement means exciting information to the other person. It can be very exhausting, but it is rewarding in the end. So how does it look like to get to a point when you start benefiting from relationship selling? One is getting opportunities that you have actually not worked for at that time. So let's talk about a situation like in the year 2020 during COVID. And you could realize that people who had invested in telling other people of what they can do as their personal skills, aside from their jobs or their businesses, such people got opportunities during COVID-19, and probably it's because of relationship that they had built over time. You've been telling me that you know how to use technology, you can develop some software for people to meet and such. And so COVID comes, it's a crisis, it's a pandemic, but I remember that so-and-so. So for example, Lucy, who is in this meeting from Amara Capital in Kenya. So Lucy has financial solutions that can help you in times of crisis, or she has business development solutions that she can give you during times of crisis. You remember such things because this person has been constantly updating you, informing you, and feeding you on what they do. So that's part of the leverage that we get out of building relationships over time. The other thing that we benefit from long-term relationship selling is basically getting repeat customers. Sometimes we think that after the transaction, the customer is only capable of buying what they bought from you. Now, when you build relationships over time, that customer is likely to realize other solutions that you have that you didn't think that they can buy. And so they come and buy what you sold, and they can even buy more. All right? So that means that you can sell the same thing that you have been selling before, but you can also get to an extent of selling more. And so increasing the customer value, all right, per the transactions that you give over time. The other way to leverage is to get that customer to trust you so much that they refer you to other clients. And so marketing starts working for you after consistently building the relationship, and it happens as automatically as you may not be in control. Sometimes you get business, you don't know where it comes from. And sometimes even the person who has come to you to buy probably didn't even tell you where they got your contact from. Someone who you met, who you invested in building a relationship with, actually converted into your marketing ambassador. Over time, you get more business or you get more opportunities, and that is an advantage that works for you. Sometimes, by the way, out of the relationships that we build, you might get competitive advantage over other people that you're competing with. Could be businesses that you're bidding for opportunities with, but there's a person who you have built a relationship with, and they say that for this deal to work, this person, Bridget is here. She's in HR. Bridget is the only person who can give us this training. And so these millions of shillings can only go to Bridget. And that is how it works, because you have built over time. You understand the other person and you can solve the problem. So referrals is also another way. I'm trying to remember a few pointers around competitive advantage. So let's talk about you getting market intelligence that helps you to stay competitive in the market. You getting opportunities that you probably have not worked for. And it also, the value of that relationship also allows you to sell at less energy, less investment over time. That's leveraging relationship selling. And the other thing is that sometimes you find that there are problems that you didn't know could be solved, but because you have built relationships with your clients, with your stakeholders, with your partners, then they give you more solutions on how you can do your work better. Maybe you're very good at, for example, media. There is a guy called Emmanuel in this meeting, Emmanuel Njoroge. He's in media. So imagine if Emmanuel does a job so well, and we want to know how he can leverage digital media to sell better or to be more effective in media works. Then the person who you have built a relationship with, who you have been feeding with information, updates, and following up on ABCD. That person tells you about new technologies that exist, new ways of doing things, safer ways of reporting when it's politically unfavorable for you. For example, in some countries neighboring Kenya, sometimes you get exposure to market intelligence, whether as an employee, as a professional, as an entrepreneur, you get intelligence that helps you to stay ahead of the market and to beat competition. Definitely getting repeat customers, a big advantage, getting higher value being bought from you, a big advantage, and competitive advantage, as well as accessing new opportunities. Those are things that come top of mind as leverages that we can get out of building good relationships in whatever we do. Demi?
No, that's really good stuff, and well done to you, and thanks to everybody who's been here so far. If you can hear us, if you're getting value from this, please put an emoji or put some sort of thumbs up or put something in the chat box. It's just great to have interaction when we're having conversation like this, so that we know that you're following or you're getting value out of it. So I can see Lucy, brilliant stuff. I saw Stella as well. And one of the things I can see Uduak as well. One of the things I loved about what you were doing as well, especially with calling people out based on what they do and the value they bring. You're fattening the calf as well. You're essentially putting in the deposit. And it's a win-win, right? And the goal of this entire relationship selling is that it's got to be win-win. You've got to go into, I always say that any negotiation where you feel like you got more value than somebody else, or where another person feels cheated, is a terrible negotiation process, because it's only a matter of time before it breaks apart, because that other person is going to come back and try to gain what they lost from that conversation. So I know there's a ton we can talk about here, and that we've been talking about already. But what I want to say, maybe we'll cap up with a few words that will come before. And please feel free to put questions in the chat box. So what we're doing, please put questions in the chat box as we begin to wrap this up, because I know it's a ton, but then there's going to be more on November 11th. That's exactly a week from today in Nairobi in Kenya. Eugene will be there. I will be there. Syria will be there. Dan Gilbert, a good friend and collaborator of mine from the US, will be there as well. We've got Dorcas will be there in HR, founder of Women in HR Kenya, founder of Social Media Managers Africa. Maureen will be there. We're bringing together what we call the Global Facilitator Impact Summit. Now, these conversations that we've been having with Eugene, we're going to have it 5x. But it's not just going to be the conversations, it's the practicality of it, but it's also the networking. It's the value add for your business. Like we're talking about relationship selling, it's a space where you will not only gain new things, but you will get value in terms of connecting with people within and outside of Kenya, broadening the scope and the base of the work you do and putting more work on the radar just to create more value. And would love to see you in the room. If nothing else, just to build relationship with you, just to be able to connect and, this is what you do, this is what we do, this is what can exchange. I was telling somebody, I was on a live last week and I went to a program called the UK Black Business Show in London. I'm based in Manchester, but went for this. And, during the conversation, I met two people. They're doing pretty well in their business. They're doing 8 figures in terms of dollars, And then I reached out to them and said, you know what? I know Africa, we can unlock value for you in Africa. And, we started to have those conversations. And I told that person, I said, you know what, that person was doing social media work. I'm like, I don't do social media, but guess who I'm going to think of when they need social media work or social media management is you, And that is the value of also in relationship selling, we are also sharing the value. So we bring something and we're sharing it with others. And it's that ecosystem. And as business people that are smart, like we said in the beginning, we should not be thinking there's a danger of a single sale. There's a danger of one transaction. It's got to be those relationships and those ecosystems that we build that continue to nurture value and give us value in the long term. It can be for business people, but also for people who are working within organizations. That ecosystem of value, you need to build it around yourself and to nurture it, and then find the opportunities to be able to leverage it, as we've been saying very practically. So don't miss this next week. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you want to register, it's tinyurl.com/GFIS 2025. There's a lot of value to it in terms of the benefits that you get from the session. It's going to be your summit participation, certificates. It's also going to be the facilitator book. What does it mean to even facilitate these relationships, facilitate performance, facilitate learning and value? And, it's a whole super package for you. And, so please go to that link. It's a very, very affordable networking price, 2,500 Kenyan shillings, all the way up to 7th of December. If you're registering after 7th of December, it goes to 3,000 Kenyan shillings. So I would say clear your calendar for that day, meet with other amazing people, build and grow your network, but importantly, get the knowledge that you can use to continue. If you're not familiar with some of this industry, practice cross-industry networking, because that's how you find value in like new spaces where you haven't tapped into. So looking forward to seeing you. Please go and register at tinyurl.com/GFIS 2025. Again, we'll follow up on this via email with you, but make sure that happens. Yeah, Stella is saying it's still Friday. It's 2,500 till Friday, so you've got 3 days. You've got tonight. Just go put it in, put the link, and invest in yourself. So, Eugene, it's been a great evening, great conversation. I know people have talked about some of the value that they've got out of this. By the way, Global Facilitator Impact Summit 2024 was amazing. We had people from Nigeria, from India, from the UK, from from Mauritius, from Kenya, from Rwanda. Obviously, it was virtual, but this one is in person, so it's an even richer experience. So it's something that you should, absolutely go for it and build. Eugene, let's wrap this up. What is maybe one quick parting shot? I know there's a ton of things we could be saying. Yeah.
Great. So I always, when I attend sessions like this, as a listener, one of the things that I try to ask myself when the speaker is speaking is, but how exactly can I apply this in my day-to-day life? So let me just give a few examples of how we can apply this. You see what happens with your food joint or snack joint or supermarket when you need items and you can actually call or order via an app and get the delivery done at the comfort of your house. That's a relationship that the outlet is building with you. For example, for those of us in Kenya, I don't know what boda boda is called in Nigeria or the UK. I'm not even sure whether you have boda bodas in these motorbikes in the UK. Last I checked,
maybe private.
I was just interacting with Teslas around London.
You think Teslas. Maybe
So
private.
in
Of course,
in
in
Kenya we have
Nigeria,
bikes.
go for it.
Great. So in Kenya we have bikes, and so when the bike rider asks you to get their contact so that the next time you want to be ferried from your house to the next point where you're going, you can actually just call them instead of going to where they normally have their stand. Then that is actually that rider building a relationship with you. Sometimes we've seen institutions of higher learning or even corporate organizations organizing medical camps. It's because they're serving a large audience and probably it's not easy. For example, one of our largest telecommunications provider in Kenya serves about 40 million people in Kenya. So you can imagine how difficult it is for them to build a personal human relationship with everyone. And so what do? They talk to us through SMS, through offers, through competitions and draws. And sometimes they organize medical camps, they will organize charity campaigns and involve us in that. So at a small scale, you could be talking to people one-on-one. At a large scale, you could be doing community initiatives that bring you closer to the people that you serve. Sometimes you find corporates, for instance, in banking, investing a lot in customer service. And so once in a while, you'll receive a call from your bank asking you about your experience. And you even wonder, why exactly would you just call me out of nowhere to ask me about my experience with banking with you? I've not told you that I have any problem. It's they want to build a relationship with you. And because you're so many customers, they want to make it easier. And so they leverage technology to ensure that they can reach you. So relationship selling is not just about human interaction. It is also bringing an intersection of technology and human and human practices to ensure that you build relationships online and offline for leverage, as we talked. Remember, we said that people will buy from you because they know you. So you have to invest in being known, visibility through marketing, through showing up, and through contributing online and offline. People will buy from you if they like you. People don't like you unless they trust that you can solve problems for them. So you must ensure that in your visibility, you're also investing in solving problems, and people will buy from you because they trust you. So people will buy from you because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. Trust is built by consistency in what you're doing and consistency in your correct mindset to give value to the other person, which comes back to you in great measure. Thank you so much. And it's been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate this audience. And I want to thank everyone for giving me an ear. Looking forward to connecting with you next week on Tuesday. And more interestingly, or even more fulfilling, will be if I hear that you actually applied the things that we discussed tonight and they're working for you. If it doesn't work, it could be just a mistake. You can always come back to us and we can look for better ways that these insights could work. Thank you so much, Demi.
No, that's
Back
really
to you.
good. I appreciate you so much, Eugene. And that's a good point. If it doesn't work, come back because you've tested it and it actually works. And two things I would add is build relationships. We should get comfortable with building relationships for the sake of building relationships. Sometimes some relationships you don't even immediately know the value it's going to add to you, especially sometimes these professional relationships. There's a place, so you've got to think about sometimes you are very targeted, but then also create space to just have relationships where you don't even know where they're going to add value to you sometimes, but you see, this is a valuable person. I don't think we can work together now. I don't know where we're going to work together in the future, but I'm keeping this person's contact. And that practice, I can give examples over and over again personally, has resulted in so much value because one day you just realize this is because you don't know what you need in 5 years' time. You don't know what you need in 2 years' time, quote and unquote. So comfort with building relationship. And like we said in the beginning, going first, offering value first. Versus thinking, what can I gain? Hopefully, we've been able to add lots of value to you this evening between Eugene and myself. And we want to thank you for joining. Like Eugene said, please do use these things, take them preciously and implement them, and let's see value in all our different areas. It will be great again to connect with you on Tuesday next week. So please join us in the room on Tuesday. Looking forward to seeing you. The link to join, you've probably seen it already. You see it in your email. If you need to sleep over, but don't miss the Global Facilitator Impact Summit. See you in person in Nairobi. Thank you, everyone. It's been a great evening. We will cap it there for today, except anybody has a comment in the chat. But if you have a comment, send it via email or say it in person on Tuesday. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great night and see you on Tuesday. Thank you, Eugene. Have a great evening.
Most welcome. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye now.